Hey everybody, welcome to the week 2 overview. This week we are diving into rhetoric. So we'll be discussing rhetoric, rhetorical problems, and rhetorical choices. We're going to learn about things like genre, audience, purpose, and we'll also talk about the angle of vision, as well as these buzzwords, logos, ethos, and pathos. So there is a list of resources for you. I'm not going to go through the module objectives. You can read that for yourself. We will talk about the checklist, the readings, the lectures, and media. There are no optional materials this week. Everything is something that you need to read or watch. So first of all, I have 2 lectures for you. They're short lectures, so hopefully you will get to those to help you understand a little bit more about rhetoric, as well as this thing called angle of vision. You will be exposed to those in this week's readings. One note about the readings, I have noticed that sometimes the PDFs take a while and you get this blue circle of death before it opens up in the viewer. Please just be patient, and it could be my system as well, I don't know. But if you keep getting the blue circle of death, right, be patient, but you can also, I lost my page there. You can also just go ahead and download. If you click on the arrows next to the pages that you are to open in PDF, you can download those to your system. Usually that happens a lot more rapidly, and then you can open them up and read them in the in Adobe Acrobat. So the first chapter is from chapter 3, just a selection from chapter 3 rather than having you read the whole chapter. Writers' decisions are shaped by genre, audience, and purpose. So you're going to read about rhetoric. You're going to find out what genre is, what audience is, and what purpose is. A lot of this you can just kind of skim through, take a look at the tables if you are a more visual type of person. They have some really helpful tables that explain the concepts of genre, audience, and purpose. You can skip over any of these things for writing and discussion if I have not specifically assigned that as one of the assignments, which I have not in this case. There is also a reading related to online environments, that they are rhetorically interactive with shifting audiences, purposes, genres, and authorial roles. That is the role that the writer has in a certain writing situation. So this will become more evident as to why you're reading this when you take a look at the text in action rhetorical analysis assignment handout. And I'll talk about that briefly in a minute. So make sure that you take a look at the online information as well. Again, you can skip over anything for writing and discussion. You can always hop to the chapter summary as well to look at that. That might be your first strategy, to look at the chapter summary and then go back if you need to read more deeply. The second reading is from chapter 4. Let me jump to the beginning of that. How Messages Persuade. And this is primarily focusing on this thing called the angle of vision. I'm not going to jump into that because I have a whole separate lecture. But anything that's like a thought exercise, you don't have to read it, but please make sure that you get through most of the information on the angle of vision. Again, anything with these little sidebars, typically you don't have to read, you can skip through it. There is also the discussion of the terms logos, ethos, and pathos. Those are the 3 main rhetorical appeals. We do have a 4th that I think I mentioned in my rhetoric lecture, and that is called kairos. And kairos is most simply expressed as timeliness of a certain writing situation. There's the rhetorical triangle, which may be familiar to some of you. And then again, you can jump to the end, to the chapter summary, and yeah, that's chapter 4 in a nutshell. The last reading will be chapter 5, Thinking Critically About Document Design, visual rhetoric, and multimodal messages. And I decided to put this one up for you to read as well because come next week, you will need to start thinking about a text that you want to focus on. And by text, I am using a really broad definition, not just print on a page, but it could be video, it could be a multimodal thing. So I wanted you to read about document design, visual rhetoric, and multimodal messages as it pertains to this upcoming essay assignment. So make sure that you read through that as well. Okay, let's go back to our checklist. So review those readings. We have the text in action, rhetorical analysis, essay assignment handout. This I'm giving to you a couple of weeks ahead of time so that you have a heads up as far as due dates for various assignments, what the main objectives of this assignment is. That way you have some time to start thinking about what you want to analyze and start looking for a particular text. Those are the readings. The assignments that you need to submit, we have a discussion board that will be due. Your initial post will be due on Sunday, September 8th. Let's take a look at that briefly since I didn't record a video to explain it. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I've posted 4 different types of genres. And what I'm asking you to do, this is kind of a preliminary rhetorical analysis where you're thinking about genre and rhetorical effectiveness. I want you don't have to dig down and read the documents for content. I just want you to observe the various ways they differ in design, language use, that kind of thing. And they're 4 very different things. We have a scholarly article, a blog post, a newspaper article, and an informational brochure. If you have difficulty accessing any of those, just let me know. Just try your best. It doesn't have to be perfect. But for each of those documents, I want you to answer the following questions. In each case, how is document design related to its genre, right? So the way it looks, it has a certain look. How does that relate to the genre? And how does the document design contribute to the document's overall effectiveness, right? Scholarly article, it has a particular purpose, it looks a certain way, and it reads a certain way. Is it effective? Same with a blog post, same with a newspaper article, same with an informational brochure. Okay, so make sure to have your initial post answers and observations posted by Sunday, September 8th, and then respond to 2 peers by Wednesday, September 11th. That will typically be our drill with these discussions. We may not have a discussion every single week, depending on what other assignments you have. But when you have a discussion post, your initial post will be due on Sunday with a follow-up response if it's required, being on the following Wednesday. Back to our checklist, we have the second assignment is the week 2 short writing, 2 messages for different purposes, audiences, and genres. And this is pulled straight from your textbook. The whole assignment has 3 parts, so it should be no longer than 2 double-spaced pages. The first part is I want you to compose a text message to a friend. Please read the instructions. Make it look like a text, make it sound like a text. It does not have to be perfect English because how many of us actually use perfect English in a text? If we do, it sounds like we're pissed at somebody, right? And then the second will be an email message to a professor. You're going to use the same information. It's just going to be worded and handled differently. And the third requirement is a reflection on those 2 messages. So I want you to use those 2 as examples and explain to somebody who's not familiar with this material on why a difference in your rhetorical context caused you to make different choices in those 2 messages. So the rhetorical context is text message to a friend and email message to a professor, why you made different choices in those 2 messages. And in your explanation, I want you to use those terms. I want you to get comfortable with terms like purpose, audience, and genre, because the goal here is to teach your audience the meanings of those terms. Okay? If you have any questions, that's due on Sunday as well. If you have any questions regarding any of these assignments or materials, if something is inaccessible, you're having difficulty, you just can't find it, please make sure to reach out to me through email and I will troubleshoot with you, answer your questions. You know, I'm happy to do that. That's why I'm here. And this is a little Easter egg for you for those of you who have actually sat here and watched the whole video. If you could just send me an email this week saying, hey, Prof. Malat, watch the video. Everything's going great, or I have a few questions, just send me an email. It has to be just a short email. That way I know that you've actually checked in, you've looked at the announcement, you've looked at the overview, and you're on top of things. Take care and have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.